In the heart of Sunny Meadow, where the buttercups grew as tall as your knees and the streams giggled over smooth, colorful pebbles, lived the most famous group of musicians in the whole wide world, the Animal Orchestra. Their conductor was a wise old owl named Professor Hoot, who wore a tiny pair of spectacles perched on his beak. He had a baton made from a fallen twig, and when he waved it, the most magical music would fill the air. There was Leo the lion on the cello, his deep, rumbling notes a warm hug for your ears. Penelope the pig played the tuba, her oompaws so jolly they made the daisies dance. On the flute was a tiny hummingbird named Pip, whose melodies were like sparkling dewdrops on a spiderweb. And of course, there was Barnaby the bear, who could make the grand piano sing with his big, gentle paws. They had trumpeting elephants, drumming woodpeckers, and a whole choir of singing robins. Their concerts were the event of the season, and animals from all over would come to listen. But one sunny Tuesday morning, something was very, very wrong. During rehearsal, Leo's cello didn't sound like a warm hug. It sounded like a grumpy grumble. Penelope's tuba didn't go oompa, it went honk blurt. And Pip's flute, usually so sweet, let out a high-pitched squeak that made everyone cover their ears. Professor Hoot tapped his baton. Ahem! Let's try that again. From the top of Morning Dew Serenade. They tried again. It was worse. The elephants trumpeted out of tune. The woodpeckers drummed at the wrong time. And Barnaby the bear slammed on the piano keys, creating a sound like a giant falling down a flight of stairs. It was a cacophony, a mess, a terrible, noisy problem. Stop! Stop! Cried Professor Hoot, his feathers all ruffled. What in the world is going on? We sound like a collection of rusty gates in a hurricane. Leo the lion sighed, his magnificent mane drooping. I don't know, Professor. My cello string feels tight, and my bow feels heavy. Penelope the pig wiped her brow. My tuba feels all stuffy. It's hard to get a good oompa out. Pip the hummingbird zipped down and landed on Professor Hoot's music stand. And my flute feels sticky. My notes are getting stuck. The other animals all murmured in agreement. Their instruments, which they loved so much, were just not working properly. Professor Hoot adjusted his spectacles and peered at Leo's cello. He stroked his feathery chin and thought, very peculiar. It seems your instruments are unhappy. Barnaby the bear looked up from the piano. Unhappy? Can an instrument be unhappy? Well, not in the way we are, said Professor Hoot. But they need care. They need to be looked after. When was the last time you all gave your instruments a good cleaning? There was a long silence. The animals looked at each other. They looked at their feet. They looked at the clouds. Leo shuffled his big paws. I think I wiped my cello with a leaf. Last spring? Penelope blushed. I may have forgotten to empty the spit valve on my tuba after our last big concert. Pip looked very small. I think there's a bit of nectar from a honeysuckle stuck inside my flute. Professor Hoot nodded slowly. I see. The mystery is solved. Your instruments aren't broken. They're just dirty. A dirty instrument can't make beautiful music, no matter how talented the musician. He then announced, Today, rehearsal is canceled. Instead, we are having instrument care day. At first, there were a few groans. Cleaning sounded much less fun than playing. But Professor Hoot was determined. He showed Leo how to use a soft cotton cloth to gently wipe down his cello, and how to apply special rosin to his bow to make it glide smoothly. Soon Leo's cello was gleaming, and when he drew the bow across the strings, a beautiful, rich note sang out. Wow! Leo roared happily. It sounds better than ever. Next, Professor Hoot helped Penelope the pig. Together they gave her tuba a bubble bath in the stream, using a long, flexible brush to clean out all the gunk from inside. When they were done, the brass shone so brightly it reflected the sun. Penelope took a deep breath and blew. A perfect, round, jolly o-oma-pa echoed across the meadow. She wiggled her ears with delight. Then came Pip's tiny flute. It was a delicate job. Professor Hoot found a single soft feather from a swan. He carefully guided Pip to use the feather to gently push the sticky nectar out of the flute. Pip then polished the silver with a clover leaf until it sparkled. He played a quick scale, and the notes tumbled out, clear and bright as a summer morning. Barnaby the bear learned how to dust each and every key of his grand piano, polishing the wood until he could see his reflection. The woodpeckers tightened their drum skins, and the elephants rinsed out their trumpet trunks. The whole orchestra was busy cleaning, polishing, and tuning. As they worked, something wonderful happened. They weren't just cleaning their instruments. They were reconnecting with them. Leo remembered how his father had taught him to hold the cello. Penelope remembered the pride she felt when she played her first oompa. They remembered why they loved making music. The next morning, the orchestra gathered again for rehearsal. Professor Hoot stepped onto his podium, a smile on his face. He raised his twig baton. "From the top of Morning Dew Serenade, if you please." He gave the downbeat and it was magic. Pure magic. Leo's cello sang a deep, soulful song. Penelope's tuba provided a joyful, steady beat. Pip's flute soared above it all, a ribbon of silver sound in the air. The piano, the drums, the trumpets, every instrument joined in, perfectly in tune, perfectly in time. The music was more beautiful, more vibrant, and more full of joy than it had ever been before. It drifted out of Sunny Meadow, over the hills, and through the forests. Animals everywhere stopped what they were doing. Their heads perked, a smile spreading across their faces. When they finished the piece, a moment of stunned silence was followed by the loudest cheer the meadow had ever heard. The musicians cheered for themselves, for each other, and for their wonderful, clean instruments. Professor Hoot beamed, his heart full. "You see?" he said, his voice full of pride. "Beautiful music doesn't just come from talent. It comes from care. It comes from love. When you take care of your instruments, they take care of you." From that day on, every Tuesday was not just rehearsal day, but also Instrument Care Day, and the Animal Orchestra of Sunny Meadow played the most beautiful music in the world, happily ever after. Thanks for watching our story today. If you love the Animal Orchestra, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more adventures. See you next time.